Now for a serious challenge. Flaskini uses Flask admin, and at the moment, if we go to use the admin, we get the index page, but we don't actually have the navigation menu that we need for Flaskini. So we need to figure out how to make some adjustments, format this Flask admin. This can get a little bit tricky. Flask admin has its own base template, which I have set up to extend our base template. So our base template is being used as an extension of this base template. So, and you can see that it has some logic about which version of Bootstrap to use. So it replaces our use of Bootstrap 4 with their version of Bootstrap 3. That's assuming that I have it set up right. And so we need to go over all of this to make sure that it's being loaded correctly. But before I can even get to that, we need to make sure that we can see this this navigation bar. So they have Flask admin comes with its own nav menu, and so we might want to build in a sub-nav menu just for this. Okay, in essence, I want to make this nav menu a secondary menu. And so this is specifically my admin nav. And I know all of my theme puts everything inside sections. So this content is definitely going to need this is a section and then a div class container. So let's put it inside a section and a container, and then let's step back and see how everything is looking. Okay. Now I've tidied that up. Okay. So we see that it is forming the menu. It does not come out very nicely. But it is sort of working. Here's one problem. It's still using Bootstrap 4 when it is depending on Bootstrap 3. So I need to switch. The rest of my site needs to use Bootstrap 4, but just inside the Flask admin stuff, we need to use Bootstrap 3. And that's because these individual fields, it'll get messy if we try to make it work. So this Bootstrap selector that came with the theme, that came with Flask admin's documentation, replaces head CSS. So if I go to my base template where I have Bootstrap loaded, if this is inside head CSS, a head CSS block, that will get replaced if I'm using a different head CSS. Okay, so this Bootstrap is now inside a head CSS block, which won't change anything unless one of its children has a head block CSS, in which case that will get replaced. Okay, so now Bootstrap properly set up. Let's see how that changes. Whoa. That gets very bad. That gets very, very bad. Okay, so the right form of Bootstrap appears to be in place, but the rest of my theme then decides to break down as a result. Yep, because everything else is built on Bootstrap 4. And so if we swap it back to Bootstrap 3, none of it makes any sense. Okay, so I don't see that there is current support for Bootstrap 4. What I do know right now is that this is a hot mess. So the best thing to do is not use a Bootstrap 4 HTML theme. So don't extend it. Have its own page. Use a separate nav structure and website. Essentially having two themes. So when you go to the Flask admin stuff, maybe even it opens in a new page or something, that it's entirely separated. It's actually not too hard to do. All I have to do is I just rename these and put underscores in front of them to break them, which means it defaults back into the templates that it has built in, because it only uses our stuff if it matches the same name, and then it overwrites it. So by mislabeling these, it defaults back to its built-in stuff, which is not bad. And until there's Bootstrap 4, my theme doesn't work. So what I can do is just see what I can do to enhance this a little bit. I guess I don't even necessarily have to. What I do need to do is fix a different problem, is why, if I try to edit something, do I have this error? So all of these are now essentially, I can pretty much delete all of these. I'll keep them around as a record at the moment, but this is all junk. And what I want to do is make that link when it goes to admin. I'd like to give this a target to open it in a different tab, so I don't lose out on where I'm at right now. So that admin will just pop open a new tab and let me work on that separate page. So that way, if I go here and I open up the admin window, there you go. Alright, so I still have this and I can just do my work. Okay, so now let's edit this and see what the error we're looking at is. Actually, before I notice I'm using Bootstrap 2. I want to be using Bootstrap 3. So let's first change the settings and make sure that Bootstrap 3 is loading. Looks like they're just passing this keyword argument when instantiating the admin. And we instantiate our admin in Flask extensions. No, actually, I'm sorry. That's when we first create it, but we don't initialize it. We instantiate it there so to make it more accessible. But we initialize it where it ought to be initialized, right here. And so here we can pass in that. Ooh, maybe you can't. Maybe I don't pass it in the init app, but in the declaration here. Yep, looks like Bootstrap 3 now. Okay, Bootstrap 3. There we go. Alright, so now, back onto our error. Still there. It wasn't a Bootstrap error, but we're at least loading the right stuff. Okay, reading over this, seeing if I can get any clues. It looks like that's a known issue, and by upgrading our version of Flask admin, we can fix the problem. So let's give this a go. Alright, and let's see if that helps. Hey, that worked. Cool.